guys, as everyone starts out this week, I hope it is a very amazing and productive and organized week. I hope it helps you in many ways as we get along through the days to the holiday season. Speaking of family and family time and holidays, I have a very special guest with us today. And that guest is a person who is a co-founder in the business. He is a college freshman and he is studying engineering, and he's also my son. So welcome, Drake Stevens.
Hi guys, how you doing? My name's Drake. As you heard from my mother, I'm her son. I'm one of the co-founders of Refocus, and I just try to help everybody around with my personal experiences through ADHD.
Awesome. You know, this show, just so you all know, it is focused around how you get focused and how you get refocused. And we're gonna ask you those questions. But I know everyone out there is really wondering, how did this happen? Here you've got this kid that had ADHD and now he's in college. How did that happen? And I'll start that out by saying that it was the two of us for a long time, and
Yes.
And as a single parent. And so then I had met my husband at the time. I think you were 9 or 10. He would try to help Drake with math and just homework, getting his trying to help him get focused. And he was challenging a lot with that. And I remember specifically, I said, I'm sure he has ADHD, and I laughed. And my husband said, actually, your son is very high functioning ADHD. And so from then on, he was a perfect child to live with.
Yeah, it was really annoying back in the day because he'd be helping me with my homework back in it was fourth and fifth grade, and we'd sit at the dining room table, and he would have to move everything off the table because I'd be grabbing every which thing I could find to do something with to not do math homework because I was like, I don't want to do math homework, and I wasn't focused, and it was a train wreck.
And I think you even did, I was just thinking the other day, you did the tapping noise or the clapping noise, right?
Oh yeah.
Good old times. He would go through and he would literally take a pen on the desk.
And, I'd be tapping. And it was more, I'll give him a beat. It was more like, it had a little rhythm.
And there was beat. And we loved it. We didn't, we thought it was just, kids play, right? And so then it found out that kind of went on through the classes, right? And some of the not so cool teachers didn't like it, right?
No, they did not.
And I think, just to be fairly frank on this, that there were teachers that would pull you out for that, right? Or if you were causing a disruption, they would move your seat too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Some teachers were like that. And it's a shame that teachers are like that, but not every teacher is the same. But the ones that were like that, it was a few out of the bunch that I had over the years, and it was kind of annoying, and it kind of sucked because people would think you're a bad kid or whatever when you're really not. You can't help it, but that's just the teacher's mentality that, oh, I'm going to put a stop to this, and that doesn't stop it.
Yeah. And so, let's break that down a little bit, Drake, is that when you were at school and let's say that you were being like that, how did, you had some anxiety with that. What did you do with that anxiety?
Which grade do you want to be talking about?
Well, we started in fifth grade is when we really started.
So right now we're in middle school.
Yeah. And then you're getting ready to go into sixth.
Yeah. So middle school, it was, I didn't have a lot of anxiety. I didn't think back then. Anxiety really hit towards high school. But because just the hardness of it, which it's not even close to hard compared to college, on the other hand, but back in middle school, I really didn't have a lot of anxiety about it. It was more of just like, I always embraced that I took medication. Like, a lot of people knew that I was ADHD because I'm like, I take ADHD meds, and they're like, oh my gosh, are you okay? And like, they'd ask these weird questions because they didn't understand what it was. And I really didn't understand what it was either. And it was more like, I embrace the power that, hey, I'm not different. I'm just one of you guys. I just take medication. And, and over the years, every nurse that I had, I developed a close relationship to because they thought I was super cool. And, I was very communicative and very social. And, I talked when something was wrong, especially with my doctors. If you're out there and you have ADHD and the medicine is not working for you, you need to talk to your doctor because if it's not working, it's not helping you and it's not helping everybody else in the world. And it can, one thing can change a ton a ton of different variables.
So true. And a lot of times, some teachers knew that you had ADHD and some did not, right?
Yeah, for example, my sixth grade social studies teacher and health teacher, she had me first block in the day and last block. And in first block, she brought my parents in and she showed them a paper that I wrote in the morning and a paper I wrote in the afternoon. And the handwriting difference was substantial. In the morning it was clean, in the afternoon it was sloppy. In the morning it was grammarly correct, in the afternoon it wasn't. And then that's when they're like, wow, we need a booster in the midday. And
Right.
so
And our parents, we said, let's see that. We want to see the first grade or the first hour, and then we want to see the last hour.
yeah.
And it was the same child with the same homework, just one seemed more, organized, put together, and the other one was more sloppy and not as well thought out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that's a big deal. Since you were talking about when you were in school, was there anything that you did in school that helped you? Arts or music or football or?
A lot of things, they helped in many different ways. I played orchestra, and orchestra was fun, but that really didn't help me focus or anything, or help me develop study habits or anything like that. But through high school, it got more like that. Like orchestra was a good place to study sometimes because when you're waiting to play, you can study, and it's sometimes quieter. And it's a good way to wake up in the morning, is wake up, play some music, and then go to class. And I was really into it after that. My first classes after that were really close, but other than that, not really.
Yeah. Okay. Because a lot of people feel that music, like being in the orchestra, it gives your brain some of that direction that they need.
Oh yeah, and that's always why my stepdad was always against me listening to music while I studied, and he has a point to that, but he also doesn't. The difference was I can't listen to music that I know amazingly well, or I will sing the whole time, or I'll tap my foot or do something.
Interesting.
But if I listen to music that I haven't heard, like I'll just put on a shuffle playlist, random playlist that I don't know, and sometimes I end up finding a song I like. But having music on really helps.
And did he suggest that, or did you?
I found that out myself through middle school and stuff. Because I tried doing it with music, and he's like, no, I don't want you doing music while you do homework to be
Right.
distracted. But I found my own niche, and I found that and this is when I was, I knew some 70s and 80s music, but I really didn't know it that well. And so then over the years from middle school to high school, I started listening to the 70s and the 80s substantially so much, and it was ridiculous. And now the knowledge I have on the 70s and 80s music, I can barely listen to 70s and 80s now while I do homework because I know almost every single song that was decent. And so now I got to go to like jazz or sometimes like soft rock, new rock bands, stuff I don't know, because if I know it, I'm going to sing.
And you and your buddy Connor, you actually do DJ events, right?
Yes. I do DJ. I DJ weddings and birthday parties and car meets, and we have a blast with it. Me and my best friend Connor Skinner, we do amazing things together. He's more of the event coordinator and stuff, and helps some with the music stuff, but I do most of the mixing and stuff just because I've developed that over the years. But together, we both have a music knowledge unbeatable compared to anybody else.
That's great. So you had shared with me a couple of times that when you were in, I think it was the fifth or sixth grade, that you had one of your teachers that was a doctor that was coming in to speak.
That was eighth grade.
Oh, eighth grade, right. But how was that for other kids and everything?
It was my psychiatrist. I was in eighth grade. I was a kid at the Mercy Student Health Sciences Academy, which was in the hospital. And we were going over, and I went into his office one day, and he's like, yeah, I'm coming to speak to your class. I'm like, oh, great. So I told a bunch of people, and what kind of sucked was he came in there and he was like, so how many of y'all know Drake? And I'm like, and everyone raised their hand because everybody knew me. There was only 50 students in the class. And he's like, how annoying is he? And I'm like, oh, there it goes. And he's like, he has ADHD. And he did this whole thing on ADHD and ODD and all this other stuff. And then people really understood where I was coming from. And some people took it differently, like they made fun of me for it, but I didn't care. I didn't let things affect me, because if I let it affect me, then it's shame on me. But
that's actually not the norm, especially if you're a girl too. If people do that, do you have any recommendations for like girls that if girls give them a hard time about that?
From a girl standpoint, I really don't know. But I mean, just generally speaking, if you let it affect you, you're going to let your anxiety rise. And the more, like, I used to be paranoid about, like, like I had to wear Under Armour clothes. I had to follow everybody. And then it just got to the point where it got old. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm Drake Stevens, and I'm who I am. I wake up, I be the best person I can every single day, and I go throughout my day and live my life the way I want to.
When did that happen? Do you remember what year?
Um, I was freshman year, because eighth grade year I had some friends, but I had some trouble with, inviting to birthday parties and other things. And I didn't get invited to do this and that. And then freshman year came around, and I came back to my big high school, from a small class to a big high school, which wasn't a big thing for me. But over the 4 years of high school, I made so many friends, from sophomores, juniors, seniors when I was a freshman to when I was a senior to juniors, sophomores, freshmen. I made so many friends, and I'm still in touch with those friends. But it let me branch out. It let me branch out, and I said, I don't care what anybody thinks. They don't have to like me, but I have to like myself.
That's very admirable. But as you and I know, there are kids today that have ADHD and ADD, and it bothers them, right? When these things go through, it can become very devastating.
They can be antisocial and stuff. And what recommendations I have for that is, embrace yourself. Find your niche. My niche was cars, and I developed my niche through cars. And what I did is through cars, I was able to, be confident and learn a bunch about it, talk to people about it, make friends through it, grow. And once I started driving, it even helped more. But let's say your niche is video games. Get in a video game club, make some friends, branch out. Just because, like, you've been with these kids since you were in elementary school, middle school, or you just met them, in college, I meet somebody new almost every single day, because there's so many people and there's so much potential to find somebody. And in high school, that can be hard, especially if you're at a small school. And, one thing can ruin your high school career because of a small school. You did one thing wrong, or something got spread about you, whether it's true or not. And that really depends on what your situation is and how you're going to overcome it. But I would say, find your niche, embrace it, say, I am who I am. This is what I do. And just roll with it. Don't think about what everybody thinks. Just do what makes you happy.
I think that's great advice. One of the things that when you and I were going through high school years, if you recall the conversation I had with Beth, and Beth was in college, and she said, well, her daughter was a freshman, and she said, if we didn't have the 504, we'd be lost. And I said, the what? And you were about a junior. And I said, and she said, the 504. And I said, is that something in college? She said, no, it's accommodations. And accommodations to you, if you're listening to this, I had no idea really what the word accommodations meant. I don't even recall them ever saying those to me. And so I learned a little bit about them. And so I talked to Drake about it, and we asked to meet with the school and the teachers and department heads that work in that area. And they met with us. You had to go through some testing, mm-hmm. right? And but it was shocking, wasn't it, about how other kids don't know about this, that maybe could be helped.
Yeah. So let me explain the 504 real quick. So the 504 is it's a number they came up with to stand for, like, accommodations for kids. And in high school, it can be a little troubling because not all teachers want to abide by it, and that can be a problem. And if you have that problem, speak to an administrator, let them know, because they're required by law to use these accommodations. Now in college, it's a lot better. And right now, I just have extended time in a distraction-free zone. But I just talked to a doctor the other day, and they're like, if you need to bring in an index card or something, I'll write you an email for that. Talk to your doctor, see what works for you, and really build that one-on-one relationship to where he can or she can write you something to help you in your schoolwork.
And we just found this out yesterday. As a matter of fact, we had no idea that Drake could have those benefits. We'd met with the College 504 Disability Program, and they were actually very sharp. There were things. Actually, the one thing that's been helpful is getting a note taker and scribe is what they call it. A lot of people don't know what a scribe is, and we didn't hear about it in high school.
No, we did not.
And that would have been helpful.
But I don't think in high school it would have.
Would it not?
It would have not. It would have worked as well.
Explain to them how it works in college, though, for people that don't know.
So at Mizzou, it could be different at different colleges. I'm not sure. I haven't been to them. But at Mizzou, you'd think a scribe would be somebody that sits right next to you and takes notes for you. It's not like that. What they do is they say, hey, we need a scribe in the class. And you volunteer. They get paid for it at the end of like $100. But what they do is they take notes every day and they upload them online, and then you can read those online.
Wow. So it's very confidential.
Yeah, it's very confidential.
Wow, that is really, so anybody that struggles with that, I would definitely say get involved with your school, and you're going to have to be the person that brings the 504 subject. You're going to have to be the person that brings that subject up to other administrators.
Definitely.
Wouldn't you agree with that? Yes. And so I think that's really important. We're going to talk about how you are a part of the company in a minute, with Daryl. However, Drake, one of the things that we do on this podcast, we talk about how people focus and how they refocus, right?
Uh-huh.
So, every kid, argues with their parent, or something, right? Or other time, or you get mad at a girlfriend or something, right? Yeah. It affects your whole day. So let's say you have an argument with a girl you've been dating for a long time, and you've got to go in and take your calc final.
That's a tough one.
What do you do to focus?
That's a tough one. I honestly would say, try to zone it out. Whenever I'm distracted by something, from an argument to something that happened physically, mentally, or emotionally, music is my answer. Music is the answer to everything for me. But I will put on certain songs that mean something to me to get my mind off it, make me happy or make me sad, whatever emotion I got to be able to take this test. I put on that song. I do that, and that works for me. But also, you could do many different things. You could do music. You could do an audiobook. You can do a podcast. Maybe that's why you're listening to this podcast right now. Who knows? But you could do a lot of other things.
And we do have we just did a podcast on how to find a podcast and what a podcast is and where you find a podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people just don't know.
Yeah. And, what you can think is, like, if you take medication, if you take anxiety medication, sometimes I take them as needed. And taking one of those really helps me. You can talk to your doctor about that and see how that works. But other than that, just find, like I said earlier, find your niche. Find, like, sometimes I'll read up on the car news, or I'll read the news. I mean, with today's world, we read the news, and it depends on what your niche is and how you can focus with it.
Right. And focusing in college is different than focusing in high school, right?
Definitely.
Okay, so tell us the difference. Because I'm not up at college with you. So how is that different? Focusing for a test in high school versus focusing
so
test,
for focusing in college, I used to be able to study the night before for a high school test and take the next day and do fine on it. In college, you have to study a week before, 2 weeks before, almost 3 weeks before even sometimes, which I have not been able to do. I've been able to do like a week and a half because I've been so busy. But you have to study a lot and put time aside to do that, and it can be tough. But like in my room, or in my dorm, it's very distracting. My roommate, he plays video games and watches sports, which I love to do, both of those. So I go other places to do my homework because I know in that environment I'm gonna be distracted and I'm going to get lost and focus on sports or video games or anything else that might come to my attention, because I am ADHD and this happens. So I like to find a quiet area sometimes, maybe not too quiet, but I like to go to the student center, student union, the engineering library. There's many places you can go on college. And I'm sure you can make this at your house too. You can make a distraction reduced environment very easily. Just find a room. Maybe it's a closet. Maybe it's a extra bedroom, put some stuff aside, making sure you got a desk, a nice light, maybe if you like to listen to music, a speaker system, anything. You can do this at your home, and you can make a distraction reduced environment. And maybe you need other people study differently. Like some people like it when the TV's on in the background because it's like background noise and it's like white noise for people when they sleep. But other than that, studying in college, it's very tough, and you gotta find your schedule and stick to that schedule, or you're not gonna make it.
And what do you mean by that? Stay to that schedule? Like mean,
Stay to that study habit schedule, because if you don't, you will not pass your tests. You won't do good in finals. It's going to be tough.
interesting. So, if you met a parent tomorrow who had a 13, 14-year-old that had ADHD and was very disruptive. Now that could be around like what, fifth, sixth grade, or maybe junior high. But let's say they were very disruptive in class. They'd get up, they'd walk around. You've been there. What advice would you give for them?
You know,
We just got one of those yesterday.
that's a tough one. You got to figure out why. If you're the parent, you got to figure out why you're doing this. You got to figure out why they're doing this, why it's happening. Talk to them, and make sure that you understand why they're coming up, because it may not be their fault. It could be because somebody said something and it hurt them, or or it could be the teacher's fault. I mean, but it also could be their fault, and that's sometimes the worst case scenario. And I ran into that problem sometimes myself, where it's my fault and I'm up doing distractions when I was younger. And you just got to figure out and find what really works for you. Sometimes, like whenever I needed to move, I'd shake my legs, I'd tap the pen, I'd do something. But sometimes those things can be annoying and distracting. So you have to find something that's going to be able to keep you down, out of sight, out of mind, doing your work in school. And that could be, maybe listening to music, being on your phone. I mean, I don't recommend being on your phone during school, but or also that could be, having a rubber band on your wrist and flicking it when you need to focus, or having a spinny ring. I've had spinny rings before. Or it can be a lot of things. Squishy balls, stress balls, a lot of those things work. You just got to figure out what works for you.
And attitudemag.org, or actually attitudemag.com, they have some great articles out there that will give you those resources. And there's even more and more that are coming out now. So one thing I did want to ask Drake about was about social pressure. So, with social media today, your age of friends, yeah, I know you see it, and I know you get it, but then that's got to be different in high school and in college. Can you tell us a little bit about the difference?
Okay, so social pressure, honestly, in college is a lot easier.
Why?
Because you don't know everybody, and one wrong move may not be the end of your social life. Because in high school, there's only so many people in your class and so many people in that school, and they're there every single day, and you're with them all the time. In college, it's way spread out, and people are you got to really find people if you want to be friends with them. Mm-hmm. And, in college, I like it a lot more because I can do a lot of things that I couldn't do in high school, that like I can go out later at night, or I can, go hang out with this person, rather than like in high school, if I hang out with that person, maybe that person's really annoying or something. And then you get judged by guilty by association with them by doing something bad or whatever, even though they may not be bad. In college, nobody really knows. Nobody cares. It's a lot easier, and I like it a lot.
That's great. Well, before we go, I want to talk to everyone just a little bit more about how you got involved with Refocus. So just so you know, when Drake had ADHD, he wanted to come work with my company, and he wanted to make money at that time at a very early age.
I did. Money has always been the key.
Driven money, cars, that's driven for you. And so so I agreed, and he would learn to get bids from different other companies. We would look at those. He would look at the designs. He helped us do this, and he did a lot of work with our company. And so I think it was 2 years later, when he was 16, we wanted to create this product that was a book, and we were going to give it to Staples, as a matter of fact. And so we sent it to friends and family, and they said, can I buy 5 of these? Can I buy 10 of these? Can I buy 20 of these? And Drake and I looked at each other, and we're like, we
got something here.
We've got something. So we went, and I pitched it to the CEO of Staples. And at that time, now you are 19, this when you were 16, mm-hmm. She felt everything was going IT. And as and that may have used to have been the truth, but she thought everything would be on IT. But now with Marriott's being hacked, and big servers being hacked, and corporations being hacked, everybody's kind of taken that responsibility back to say, hey, you know what? I want to go back to that paper and pencil, and I will take care of my stuff. And so, so Drake, we were in the car one day and I could not remember my password. I tried so hard. I reset it. It was so frustrating. And he could feel that frustration from me. I thought I was getting dementia. And he said, why don't we create a password book? And it kind of started from there. And we thought we'd have one. And we didn't know if it would go to 2 or 3. We had no idea. I went to my team. I asked some consultants to come in. At this point, it grew and grew and grew. We now have 9 versions of the password book to include minis. Yes. And we have a left-handed version as well. Yes. And
that's because I'm left-handed and I'm like, I want a book that opens to the right and not the left.
And we've had other people recommend that too. So it's been exciting. So we have that. We came out with our new colors of our new design of our calendars. And they have, you'll see them with their design. They have different things in the middle. They're going to be lighter weight. And even the black is going to be a very lightweight. And the numbers still pop with color. Same to-do list, same appointment list, all of that. And then we just launched a brand new product this past year. And it was so exciting because when we did that, we had no idea how it would go, but we noticed that the pillbox there'd been no innovation. So we redesigned the pillbox, and we have wraps that go around them in their the calendar portion where you keep your pills. There's a place in there where you can put your insurance card or your driver's license card, or if it's a kid, it's for their parents' number. So we've made these really well done. The first one is for kids. The other one is for adults, which talks about, making them a priority. I think, as you would say, something from my mom, right? Like, she gets so busy, things like that. And the last one that we love so much is it's for patients who are terminally ill or who have a permanent chronic ailment that they may have. And what those say is, there's a red one that says, because your little ones love you. Another one because it says, because you're stronger than you think. And the other one is, because I could be the cure. And everything we do is in kindness and motivation. And, as we've had Drake here, we were really fortunate. He was home for Thanksgiving. And so we got to have this time with him. So first of all, Drake, I really thank you for giving us this time, because
no problem.
It's I think all of you out there would appreciate hearing the story from you as well as from me itself. But we have 9 products in development. We've got a whole team. We've got a lot of strategy that we're going to be facing in the future here.
Yeah.
And for anyone who's interested, Drake is going back to college. He is part of the company, but we do want him to get an education. But one of the biggest questions that we ask everybody, Drake, on this podcast is, when you're going to school or you're going to that calc test or that meeting or on a date, you never know, and you get in your car and you want something that's really going to get you going, what is that song?
That song for me, this is a tough one. Songs in general for me are very, very emotional or very picky. I listen to the lyrics and I try to connect them with myself. And, one person that's always connected with me is Charlie Puth and Charlie Puth's albums. And he's got a song for about anything you could think of. And, if anything between, I'll either go Charlie Puth or I'll go with my classic, Daryl Hall and John Oates. And they got way upbeat songs and good slow songs, and either of those two, happiest times of my life.
He's dying to get tickets to see both of those individuals.
Oh, yes. I've gotten into the Baja Club, which is where we build a off-road car and race it against a bunch of schools. We actually placed 16th out of 128 schools our last time. I've gotten into Ping Pong Club, and I've also gotten into a lot of smaller friend groups where we do ping pong, board games, a ton of stuff like that. And I've gotten into the engineering world. But a lot of things, and there's still more to come, but I got to space out my time and focus.
And and refocus. Yeah. And one of the biggest questions is, do you feel like you need to move home to live with your mom again?
No. No, I like it up at college.
And that's where we end it today. Listen, I hope you've had an amazing time listening to this episode because you could not have gotten it more true than this, wouldn't you say?
I can't argue with that.
Not at all. We give it to you just as we record it. Anyway, we look forward to our episode next week. You're going to love that guest as well. And also find out how you can focus and refocus when those big, important times in your life come up. Have a great day. Thank you so much for supporting Refocus. Today's episode is supported and sponsored by Refocus, the Creative Office. All of our products are created through the eyes of a child with ADHD, and they make your life easier. They have a podcast, so make sure that you subscribe when you listen to those podcasts, and that will get you to the next episode that is going to be coming out. You can check our website at www.time, that's TIME, the number 2, refocus.com. So time2refocus.com. Thanks so much for your time today. We graciously appreciate it.